Hello, genealogists. This is Craig, and we begin our process of examining genealogical standards as found in the second edition revised of Genealogical Standards, which was produced by the Board for Certification of Genealogists. And this is where I caveat and say I do not represent the Board for the Certification of Genealogists. I am just an associate of the board. I'm not a trustee. I have never been a trustee. However, I believe firmly in the standards and what the Board for Certification of Genealogists means. You will hear this each time that we discuss a standard at the very beginning so that everybody is perfectly clear that you're not going to say, but Craig Scott said. All I'm going to give you is my opinion on the matter, and it's worth about squat. And we'll leave it at that. Well, here we are again. A week has gone by. It's almost New Year's. And it's cold inside this warehouse. So, today we're going to talk about standards for researching, standard element number 12, broad context. And let me preface my remark. Let me read it first. When planning research, genealogists consider historical boundaries and their changes, migration patterns and routes, and sources available for potentially relevant times and places. They also consider economic, ethnic, genetic, governmental, historical, legal, linguistic, military, paleographic, religious, social, and other factors that could affect the research plan and scope. And for the first time, there is no C glossary for definitions. This is my element of you must be a genius in order to do a research plan because you have to take into account all of these factors in order to craft a research plan properly. I don't believe that. I do believe that it is important to understand county formation and that you should know before you do your research plan what counties you're going to be dealing with and how those counties were formed, because they may lead you to older counties that you must be aware of. I think you should be aware of migration patterns in a general sense, but recognize that not everybody followed migration patterns. They're just that, patterns. And sources for potentially relevant times and places. Well, that's what Family Search Catalog is for. I guess is the easiest way to put it. That's what WorldCat is for. That's what your literature search is for. You should do a literature search before you do a research plan, don't you think? Or maybe the literature search is part of your research plan, and you're identifying the pieces of literature that you're going to deal with for that county, that place, in that time. But I don't have a degree in economics. Not real sure of all my ethnicities. I'm a mutt. I'm really not that competent when it comes to telling people about genetics, except what kinds of tests they are and how to use them and blah, 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 and how to do this and how to do that. But I don't have that as a forte. It's just something I use, a tool I use. Governmental? Okay, we talking county? We talking state? We talking federal? And how does that impact my research plan? Well, it might, I guess. Historical? Well, that's pretty nebulous. Legal? Well, I have a Black's Law dictionary if I have a problem. Linguistic, I'm not real good with languages. I can barely speak English these days. Military, now there's something I'm good at. I know those things that belong in a military research plan. And they are more than a compiled military service record and a pension. Paleographic, I can read handwriting, if that's what paleographic means, but I think maybe that one belonged in the glossary if none of the others did. Religious? Well, I've always said you got to know what church they went to. Social? I don't have a clue. and other factors. Oh, let's cover them all that could affect the research plan and scope. I like broad context, but remember that your research question focuses in on a single individual, a single family, in a place and in a time. So you don't want to go too broad. A research plan is also very flexible. It's fluid. You may start with it looking one way one day, and by the end of the day, based on what you found so far, it could change dramatically. So keep that in mind. You don't have to have a master's degree in economics to do genealogy. You don't have to be a military records specialist to do genealogy. Now, does it help? Maybe. But I'm not in favor of broad context. I am in favor of context, understanding the context. But sometimes we come to that context as a result of our research, not as a result of our research plan. I'm thinking that if you come to context as a result of your research plan, you are living in a world of confirmation bias. So let your research plans be fluid. Take into account all these things over time, but you surely don't have to get to first base with all of them. Maybe by the time you get home, you have them all. But if you put off your research plan until you have all of these contextual pieces put together, you'll never start researching. And the most important thing you can do is start researching. So this has been Craig. This has been Just Genealogy. Another Saturday has come. And standard element number 12, broad context. See you next week. Bye.